2 5 stars to start off my year. At the end of the day, people are still people. She is a nasty husband. He's not a nice man. It's the start of the new year, and I thought a fun way to bring it in would be to focus on new authors that I haven't read before. I have so many books on my physical TBR from authors that I've never read, and I've been very excited to get to. I also got a bunch more books for Christmas of authors that I really want to read, so there's just a lot to choose from. I have to go climb to go get the book that I want to read first, so I'll be back. Okay, I got it, and the first book that we are going to start with is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I have heard phenomenal things about this book. I've never heard a bad thing. We're basically following a couple who got divorced or is planning on getting divorced, and they're trying to co-parent their kids. And I don't know if it is a second chance romance or if things don't work out again and she finds someone new. From the back, it gives the vibe of maybe being a second chance romance, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm very, very excited to dive into her. I know she has a few more books. I also have another one of her books, which is Real. She's somehow on a movie set in that one. I believe she falls in love with an actor, but this is the one that I've heard the most about, and I feel like is most talked about of her work that I know of. So we're gonna dive into this one. I'm not sure what we're gonna read for the rest of the video, but we will decide when the time comes. I kind of want to just mood read the new authors instead of like set myself a TBR, because that's just no fun. I don't like doing that. It's dual point of view. I love dual point of view, so I am very excited. Wow, so we start off with them wildly in love, and I imagine it's gonna get very sad because that was so cute and so sweet. So that's really sad. I hope this is a second chance. I'm not gonna look it up because I want to be surprised. They sound like so in love with each other. I feel like that doesn't just disappear. They'll find it again. I thought it would be time for an update because I am 215 pages into Before I Let Go, around halfway, and I am enjoying this so much. It is very emotional. I honestly didn't realize what I was getting into and the emotions that would be brought out. I really enjoy the light that therapy is put in this book. I think it's really wonderful. I think it's very encouraging if you're thinking about it, even if you don't have anything going on. I guess it's always good to have someone to talk to about your feelings. And this book starts off from like Jump Street being sad because obviously they're divorced, and I know I said I didn't know if it was a second chance romance or not, but it is because I marked it as currently reading on Goodreads, and then one of the reviews was like, this is a second chance romance, whatever. And I'm kind of getting to the point where the second chance might be happening. I don't know. They look at each other and they're like immediately attracted to each other and thinking about their memories, but then we also got a glimpse into the past when I don't know if it's Yasmin, I don't know how to say it, I'm sorry, when she was severely depressed and how that impacted the relationship. And it's just a very real and true romance book. I feel like not even romance, I think it's considered women's fiction. At first I feel like it took me a little second to get into it because there's a couple characters that you're introduced to because they have 2 kids, and then she has her 2 best friends, and her one best friend has 3 kids, so there's a little bit going on. But it truly is a beautiful story, and I think there's some wonderful life lessons in here almost, and just some very beautiful quotes, and I've almost cried a couple times already. It's just, this is a really well written, good book, and usually when I read a romance book, if that's what you could call it, it's not this deep, and I really appreciate how emotionally deep this is and like the depth of it. It's very good. So I might end up finishing it today, who knows, but I do plan on reading a decent amount more, and they're about to go somewhere alone, so we'll see what happens. Okay, it's now the next day, and I am so excited to say that I have finished Before I Let Go, and it was a 5-star read. I said this before when I was talking about it, but I just truly appreciated how emotional the story was. I literally had tears streaming down my face when I was finishing it. I really enjoyed how Yasmin was able to reflect on her past actions and seriously grow from them. It was so inspirational. You know, she recognized the way that she acted was maybe not the best way, but it also was just how she reacted, and she can't change that now, but she can keep moving forward and keep trying to be the best version of herself. And she did grow to be the best version of herself. I truly had such a good time reading this because you get a little bit of the past of when she wasn't herself and the way she acted and how depressed she truly was, and then how she found herself through therapy and her therapist giving her a lot of guidance. There was one quote that I did take a video of, but I just want to read it. There is some talk of suicide in this book. If that is a trigger for you, maybe don't read it. It comes up a couple times of Yasmin being asked if she ever thought about it. So just maybe look at the trigger warnings before you read this, because there is a decent amount of quite heavy topics going on. Let me give some context. Yasmin is with her therapist, and Yasmin is talking about how during that period of her time she did not want to live, and how she should be grateful to still be here because there was a documentary about people who jumped off of the Golden Gate Bridge. There was a survivor, and they talked to the survivor, and the survivor said that as soon as they jumped, they regretted it. And then the quote says, "That is an irreversible outcome. Divorce may or may not be. Broken relationships may or may not be. You may never repair those completely, but you're still here to try. Do you recognize what an amazing gift that is, to still be here to try?" And I think that that is a wonderful message to put out to everyone. Like, don't give up on yourself. You're still here. You still have so much time to keep going, to keep growing, become different versions of yourself. I feel like this was a great thing to also read at the start of the year. Not that you can't change yourself at any other time in the year, but I feel like it's a good reminder. I said this before, but I really like how healthily it highlights therapy and how the whole family in the end ends up going to therapy and how much it helped them just having someone to talk to about their feelings. Yeah, so 5 stars. The only thing that I didn't like about this was towards the end when the second chance is second chancing. Yasmin and Josiah are just hooking up like every single chapter, and I'm like, okay, this is a lot, because it started off there's like nothing going on obviously because they're not together, and then they're like back together. There's just a lot of them hooking up. That was the only thing that I feel like was maybe a little too much, but other than that, I really enjoyed it. Definitely recommend, but definitely check the trigger warnings because there are so many heavy topics going on in this. I am also very curious to read the rest of it because the rest of the interconnected series, because Yasmin's 2 best friends, I believe the next 2 books follow them, and I'm very, very curious about, I think her name's Soledad, I'm butchering that probably, but she has a nasty husband. He's not a nice man. He's having an affair. I'm pretty sure she has a book, and I think that would be really interesting to read, and also to keep hanging out with these characters and seeing what they've got going on, you know? I forgot to say, I also really liked how every single person that Yasmin and Josiah were around was like whispering to Yasmin, being like, it's never too late. Go get your man. Like, it's not too late. We see how you guys look at each other and how you guys feel about each other. We can see it in your eyes. Get back together. What are you doing? We know that you love each other. I thought that was really sweet because it really just like reflected how much these 2 people felt for each other. With that, we are going to move on to the next book of this week's video, which I believe I want to read The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. I've heard so many good things about this book. I really admired the concept of this, so I think we're going to do this one. This book is told solely through letters and emails and any form of, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but just communication like through letters and whatnot. And we're following Sybil just throughout her life, and I think that is such a fascinating concept. Like, how do people come up with stuff like that? So I think this could end up being such an interesting and fun story. And literally my first two books of the year, so I read Before I Let Go, and then you guys haven't seen, but I read the second book in the Scythe trilogy called Thunderhead, and that was 5 stars because that was insane. If you haven't read those books, definitely read them. Crazy plot twist in that book, but 2 5 stars to start off my year. What a wonderful thing. And I have a strong feeling that this may also be 5 stars, which would be so fun. I think that's awesome. Earlier today I was like thinking to myself, I was like, maybe I shouldn't give it 5 stars, like I don't know, but it's not that serious. I feel like people take reading and ratings and like anything around it so serious. And it's not. It's fun. It's made up. Like, this isn't a real thing. There's no consequences to giving a book 5 stars. Maybe you can look back and change it, but it's not that serious. So, it's staying at 5 stars. But sometimes I just get into my head about things like that, and I think it's stupid. So if anyone else gets into their head about it, you're not alone, because I don't know why I feel like I need to take it more serious when it's my rating. It doesn't matter to anyone else. It's my rating. Anyways, we're gonna get started on this a little bit today, and I'm really excited. I also really like the cover. It would be such a cool thing to have like framed on your wall. Also love when people do really creative dedications. This isn't a creative dedication, it just says to Mark with love, but really creative ones when it's like, I don't even know. Can't think of one off the top of my head, but when people have really creative ones, I really like that when it like feels like it's like calling to your soul. Love that. Anyways, we're gonna do a little bit of reading and we'll talk soon, of course. Okay, it's another new day. I am 103, 102, 103 pages into the correspondent, and I am having a good time. I really, really enjoy the concept of it, that it's solely told through either emails or mostly letters, but there are some emails. So we're following Sybil, and she used to be a lawyer and like the clerk's assistant, I think that's what it was. And there's someone sending her letters, and they only leave like their initials, and it's like kind of saying like eerie things like, I'm watching you, I hope you think about me watching you when you go outside, and like all these things, because in some way this person feels that she wronged them in her career. I'm very curious as to who that's gonna be. So there's kind of like a little mystery aspect, which is really interesting. We're just following her life through letters, which is so fascinating, with her brother and her best friend, and then someone, a colleague, and then his son who's like a little kid, and she's talking to him. I think that is so sweet. And I know everyone is saying this, but it really makes me want to start writing letters. I think that is so fun, and it's a great way to communicate with people. I think it's a lost art of some kind, because obviously we have people at our fingertips and it's so easy to communicate with people now, but it's not fun. Sometimes it's not fun for it to be that easy to talk to someone, and it would be more fun to just send letters. It did take me a little bit to figure out like who was who and who she's talking to and who this person is to her, but I do think it was interesting the way the author made it easy for us to know stuff about her. Is because she's corresponding with this young boy. He's obviously asking a lot of questions, so it's kind of like the way we got introduced to more information about her, because she's like, this is what I used to do, these are who these people are to me, this is how many kids I have, and all these things. And I thought that was like a good idea. It is like such a different concept. It's like she gets asked to go on a date, and then the following letter after that is her saying she had a good time. But like obviously we don't go on the date with her because it's not going to be in a letter. So that's just like very different from other things that I've experienced in books, because obviously if someone's going to go on a date in a book, usually then it would flow like, oh, she's going to get ready and then she's going to go on it. But we don't get that because it's all through letters, which is very interesting. I think I'm going to finish this today probably, because it's super quick and it's 280 pages, but obviously each page isn't even like a full page on some of them, so it's like a super quick read. But also I feel like you could really take your time with this because there's not like a ton of information to know. I think the only thing is remembering which characters are which, but personally I'm someone who likes to just binge a book. I feel like I give it a higher rating if I binge it versus if I take my time with it, because then I'm just like, I don't wanna read it. Anyways, probably gonna finish this today, and I'm very curious to find out who this mystery person is who's like haunting her basically. I have finished The Correspondent, and it was a 5-star. Phenomenal book. These characters felt so real and human, and I really want to start writing letters now, which I swear everyone says, because why would this not inspire you to start writing letters? It really kept her connection to all of these people for so long, and she was literally writing letters to anyone, and people responded. At the end of the day, people are still people, and which she said, and I think that is just such a wonderful thing to remember. Like, we idolize these famous people, like she was sending letters to authors and a lot of them do respond, and people are surprised by this, and she was like, at the end of the day, people are just people. Like, who wouldn't love to receive a letter in the mail? I would love a letter, and now I want to figure out people to start writing letters to, because why not? Now, I knew that the end of this book was going to be heartbreaking, but because I knew that, I didn't think I was going to cry, and I still cried. There's a lot of irony at the end, I feel like, but I'm very happy that Sybil was able to find such joy in life, even in her late 70s, and that she had Theodore. He was my favorite character. I loved him. Such a gentle, sweet man, and I'm so happy she had him. I love him. He's so sweet. He does something really sweet at the end, towards the end of the book, when he's giving Sybil a hand, and I just think it's so sweet. Also loved seeing Sybil reconcile like all of her relationships and notice her wrongdoings and apologize for them and stop being such a stubborn woman. That was also really nice to see. I like when the characters grow and change, even as old as she was still able to grow and change, which is just beautiful. I wrote a little review in my Notion, so I'm just double checking it to make sure I say what I want to say to you guys. But another thing that I really enjoyed was that even though this whole thing was told through letters, we still got like the full picture of everything, and we understood the hardships and all the emotions behind it. Every single one of these characters felt so real, and I think that's because it was all letters. It definitely puts them in a more like human light than them just being false characters. I also loved her relationship with Harry, kind of like her third son. I feel like she had a very special bond with him, and I think that was really sweet. It's just all these characters felt very human. Nothing was really ever going right for everyone completely, and everyone went through hard things, but still they had their letters with each other. I also loved Sybil's love for reading and how we got little information on like what she was reading lately. Her and her friend Rosalie like sending back and forth what books they were reading. That was really sweet. And also that she loved to garden, which is so cute. Like, she was really living a solid retirement life. I am very happy that I decided to pick this one up, and if you're thinking about it, definitely do it. It's very easy to just keep reading because obviously it's just a collection of letters. It's a lot more than that, and I think next I'm gonna go for a bit of a shorter book. I've been scrolling a lot on Pinterest because I don't let myself on Instagram or TikTok anymore. So Pinterest is my best friend, and I came across a whole bunch of Japanese fiction that has been translated into English, and it's something that I really want to get into. A lot of them seem quite similar to Before the Coffee Gets Before the Coffee Gets Cold, which I did really enjoy when I read that. I love the like hidden life lessons within those. The next book that I think I want to read is Days at the Morisaki Bookshop. I believe I'm saying that right, but I have no idea. This is a very short book. It's literally like 150 pages, but I greatly appreciate books like this. I think they're so wonderful. I feel like I could read a million and I think they could all be teaching me the same lesson, and I still want to read it. So I'm very excited to dive into this one. I'm not entirely sure what it's about. We are following Takako. This is the only thing about this, that I struggle to pronounce these names as they're not in English. or they are in English, but it's a Japanese name, which is not something that I'm really familiar with. So we're following Takako, and her boyfriend had cheated on her, and she loses her job, her friends, her acquaintances, and she spirals into a deep depression. She gets a call from her distant uncle, who then allows her to stay in the room above the bookshop in exchange for working for the bookshop. I know there's a lot of different Japanese fiction, obviously, and a lot of them have a magical element, but I don't believe this one does. I think it's just more about humans being human and the things they learned from other humans in the bookshop. I don't know. It sounds really interesting. I feel like I will probably just read this in one sitting, but we'll see. You never know. Good morning, everyone. It is now the next day, and I am halfway through days at the Morisaki bookshop. Started it last night, and I just got really tired, and I went to bed. I will say, first of all, I'm really enjoying this. I think it's really sweet. It's very obvious messages in here, but I do think it is really wonderful, and even in 80 pages, I feel very attached to her characters, and I really, really like them. What I was gonna say, I would refrain from reading the summary on the back because the last like 2 paragraphs, I haven't even gotten to that stuff happening, which is quite bizarre because I'm 80 pages in, and like I feel like it says everything that happens in the book except for the life lessons. So I'm just gonna sit here and we're gonna read a little bit. The shortest book I think I've ever read, but I'm really enjoying it, and it literally brought tears to my eyes at some points, which is kind of crazy because there's like not much to it. It takes a lot of talent to bring out so much emotion in just this little amount of pages. It has definitely made me very intrigued about reading more Japanese fiction because I just think it's so interesting. And also, this bookstore is on a street that is filled with a bunch of used bookstores. And I need to look it up because I imagine this is a real place, which would be so cool to visit one day. Literally, just a street filled with a whole bunch of used bookstores, and it's like the biggest area of used bookstores in the world. If that's real, that's so cool, and what a fun way to kind of add some more life to it through the book. I think it's really fun. Anyways, we're gonna read a little bit now. I am struggling to picture our characters because there's not much a description on what they look like. It's like the girl described as being really cute, and that's kind of it. So I don't I don't know how to picture her like that. That's how everyone like is saying that. Like, I'm sorry. If you're just telling me that someone's cute, how am I supposed to picture them? Obviously that's not the purpose of this book. You're supposed to learn from them, not wondering like what they're looking like, but whatever. Alright, so I just sat here and I've finished Days at the Morisaki bookshop. This is really quick, really sweet, really cute. A super just sweet story about these characters. Not really like much of a plot. It's very like character driven. I think I'm gonna give it 3.75 stars. It's nothing special, I would say. It was really cute though. I think if you kind of just want to follow along some characters' growth, it's a good book for that. I definitely liked part 1 more than part 2. Part 2, honestly, it just wasn't my favorite thing. I liked part 1 a lot better because we're following Takako, I don't know how to say it, but the main female character. We're following her growth in that one, and I really like that. I feel like that's very relatable for a lot of people. And then in part 2, there's almost like a mystery, kind of. Not like a mystery, but there's just a lot of stuff that we don't know that you find out, which is interesting and it's quite sad. But you also never completely find out what part of it is. I don't know how to explain it. I would definitely recommend this. If you can take a slow story, there's like really not that much happens. And if you need it to be like fast paced and crazy, you're not gonna like this. But I can read slow stories, so I did enjoy this. But it was cute. It's kind of like a little hug in a book. That's the best way I would describe it. I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna get into next. I think I want to read Watermoon. It seems like a cozy fantasy, but I also saw someone say it's like a mix of cozy fantasy with a touch of Stephen King, which is pretty crazy. I don't even know like what that means, but there was like a whole display for it when I went to Barnes and Noble, and the cover of it is absolutely stunning. So I think I'm gonna start reading that in a little bit. Okay, so I actually have two options that I'm deciding between. We have Watermoon, which again, the cover is so pretty and it sounds so interesting. Let me read it to you guys. On a back street in Tokyo lies a pawn shop, but not everyone can find it. Most will see a cozy ramen restaurant, and only the chosen ones, those who are lost, will find a place to pawn their life choices and deepest regrets. Hana wakes on her first morning as the pawnshop's new owner to find it ransacked, the shop's most precious acquisition stolen, and her father missing. And then into the shop stumbles a charming stranger quite unlike its other customers, for he offers help instead of seeking it. Together they must journey through a mystical world to find Hana's father and the stolen choice, by way of rain puddles, rides on paper cranes, the bridge between midnight and morning, and a night market in the clouds. But as they get closer to the truth, Hana must reveal a secret of her own and risk making a choice that she will never be able to take back. That sounds so fun. Riding on paper cranes. Obsessed. We might end up reading this one, honestly, but I do just want to mention this book because there's a whole table for it at Barnes & Noble and it looks so cool. It's called I, Medusa. Let me read you guys this one also, just so you can have an idea, because also it has some cool sprayed edges and it just looks really interesting. And this, Maiden, Mistress, Monster, Myth, sounds pretty freaking cool. This says, Medi has spent her whole life at a footnote in someone else's story, out of place next to her beautiful immortal sisters and her parents, both gods, albeit minor ones. She dreams of leaving her family's island for a life of adventure. So when she catches the eye of the goddess Athena, who invites her to train as an esteemed priestess in her temple, Medi leaps at the chance to see the world beyond her home. In the colorful market streets of Athens and the Claudenstein chambers of the temple, Medi flourishes in her role as Athene's favorite acolyte, getting her first taste of purpose and power. But when she's noticed by another Olympian, Poseidon, the course of Medi's promising future is suddenly and irrevocably altered. When her locks are transformed into snakes as punishment for a crime she did not commit, Medusa must embrace a new identity, not as a victim, but as a vigilante, and with it the chance to write her own story as a mortal, martyr, and myth. Exploding with rage, heartbreak, and love, I, Medusa portrays a young woman caught in the cross currents between her heart's deepest desires and the cruel, careless games the Olympian gods play. That also sounds so interesting. I don't know. Alright, let me look on Goodreads. I'm pretty sure Watermoon came out in 2023, I know, because I was looking at that one on Goodreads. I, Medusa, though, when did this come out? Alright, this came out in 2025. The dedication in this one says, For my sister, I turn 1,000 men to stone to keep you safe. Female rage is probably pretty prominent in this, which is always interesting. I don't know which one I want to do, because honestly, it seems so fascinating. Alright, let me sit and decide for a minute. Also, I'm aware I should not care about other people's opinions, but I really don't know which one I want to read, so I'm gonna go with the one with the higher rating on Goodreads. Again, I'm not trying to use it to sway me, but I don't know which one I want to read. I really don't. So, I need some help. Okay, Watermoon has a 3.78 rating. I, Medusa has a 4.09 rating. Okay, I've made a decision. Take a guess. Which one do you think? Okay, decided with I, Medusa because I read the first little chapter, hooked immediately. It's so good. I knew it was gonna be filled with female rage and I'm very excited. We're gonna get straight into this one. I'm so excited. And also just the bare hardback on this, stunning. I love this color so much. And I also think it's a very interesting retelling of Medusa because she's painted in a bad light in a lot of stories, and we kind of get her background in this. Yeah, I'm really excited. Hello guys. I just want to preface this and say that it is quite late at night and my family is sleeping, so that is why we are going to be very, very quiet. But I haven't talked to you guys in a couple days. I've had a very busy past couple days because my semester just started up again. And oh my goodness, I know this might seem boring to people, but if you're in school, I have all science classes this semester and it's just gonna be a lot. I have organic chem, which is accelerated, and then I have anatomy and physiology 2 and clinical microbiology, and then when my organic chemistry is over I start biochemistry. So I just have a lot going on and I just haven't filmed anything, but I've gotten a little bit of the way through I, Medusa, and I am thoroughly enjoying this. It is so good. It is definitely more of a slow paced book. There's obviously a big plot to it. We're also very much so following Medusa and this life story for her. I'm 115 pages in, which is pretty solid. And I do just want to sit and read for a little bit tonight because I need to unwind. Basically, because I don't think I talked about this at all, we're following Medusa, and both of her parents are minor sea gods. She has two older sisters who are both immortal. Obviously, her parents are immortal, and she is mortal, which was a shock. And she lives on this island. They're not really supposed to leave the island because when Poseidon, I think it's who it was, like he formed the Sea Court. See, I might be getting some of this wrong because this gets a little bit confusing for me, but also remember that it is late at night. So forgive me if I'm getting some of the facts wrong. But Ares' son, don't remember his name, he comes to the island looking to marry one of the three sisters, and he picks one of the sisters, and she's excited to be able to get off the island. But it comes to Medusa's attention that this man is an aggressive man, and she doesn't want that for her sister. So basically, some stuff happens, and then Athena herself comes to the island. She meets Medusa, and she's very intrigued by her. So she invites her to become a priestess for her, like at her temple. So that's where I am currently. The front of the book says Maiden, Mistress, Monster, Myth. So I think that's like the flow of the story. So I'm at the maiden part where she's training to become a priestess. They have to pass these exams and these tests, and she's already made a friend, which is so cute. But we've also seen some demonstrations of female rage already, and if that is something that you enjoy, then I think you will thoroughly enjoy this book. But I'm intrigued. Like I'm almost positive this is the path it's gonna fall, because there's different parts, and the part that I started when she was going to Athena's temple, it was called Maiden. So then I wonder what's gonna happen. The description of this book, I feel like, explains a lot of what goes on in the book compared to like what has happened. Like I'm 100 pages in, and obviously the description says about how she gets turned into what we know as Medusa, but I don't know. And if you don't know who Medusa is, which I'm sure you do, but she has snakes as her hair, and when she looks at men, she can turn men to stone. That's the gist of that. But obviously, she's not at that point right now. She's still mortal. She's a normal human right now. And stuff happens, and she makes some very powerful people very angry, I guess. So I'm really excited to just sit down and read and relax. So we're gonna do that. I'm excited to read something that is not chemistry, biology related. It is getting harder and harder to keep my eyes open, so I think it is time for bed. I've read actually a couple pages, read like 30 pages, which is pretty solid, but I am so tired, so I think I'm gonna go to bed, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow when I will hopefully finish this book. I've been trying really hard to prioritize reading and not going on my phone. Anyways, let's go to bed. It's finally daytime when I'm talking to you, but I have finished I, Medusa. So I talked to you guys, for me it was 2 nights ago, and I said I was gonna go to bed, and then I didn't feel like moving, so I just kept reading a little bit more, and I ended up getting to like page like 215 or something, maybe a little more than that, I don't exactly remember. And then last night I had some more time to read, so I just devoured the rest of this, because when I stopped talking to you guys and I kept reading, things kind of hit the fan. And then stuff just kind of kept happening, and I didn't want to stop reading because I was like, oh my gosh, things are getting really crazy. This was a phenomenal story. I give it 4 stars. I think it was so good. At times, I was very frustrated with our female main character, Medusa, because she spends her whole life kind of not feeling like she's a part of anything because she's the only mortal person in her family. And then someone starts showing her some interest, and she believes everything they say, and she's Little Miss Gullible, and you kind of just want to shake her and be like, come on, like this is so obvious that this person is manipulating you. And I don't want to say too much because if you don't know, I don't know how much of this is just from the Greek mythology like itself, and how much of this was the author's own ideas, because obviously it's based off of Medusa, who is from Greek mythology, but I don't know how much of this and like the Olympus gods and like who did certain things to her are the ones who actually did it. I imagine that is, but so you might already know, but I was surprised, so I want you to be surprised too. There is a lot of anger in this book. Medusa holds a lot of anger within her. Her sisters hold a lot of anger within them. The ending is quite sad. Wasn't expecting that. I think I read some reviews and I believe that the ending is part of the folklore. Is it folklore? The mythology? That I didn't expect, which is quite sad. But the way it ended, I think was really beautiful and fitting for the story, because obviously, even with Medusa becoming what we know as Medusa with the snakes as her hair, she's still immortal, so she can still die very easily. Again, there's a lot of female rage in here, so if that is something that attracts you, definitely read it, but definitely check the trigger warnings. There's definitely some dark things going on, which is terrible, but I would check those before you hop into this, because something specific happens like multiple times. There's not really details of it, but just check the trigger warnings. I am really happy I decided to pick this one up. I think Greek mythology is fascinating, but I've never like delved into it, because I read A Song of Achilles, or is it The Song of Achilles or A Song of Achilles, whatever one it is. I read that book and I did not like it, so I was a little weary going into this. Wary? I don't know, I can't speak, whatever. So I was a little nervous going into this one, just because I feel like you can go about this a lot of different ways and make it an overload of information with a lot of gods and goddesses in Greek mythology, or you can build such a great basis of a family and plot and these characters who have so much emotions. And I really feel like I knew who Medusa was. You also see how truly evil people are and how terrible they are, and how power just destroys people. They want more and more and more power, and it's a terrible thing, which you could definitely see depictions of that in our real world. This is 4 stars. I would 100% recommend it, and I would be curious to check out other things that this author has written, because the book was so easy to read. I do want to say that if you're expecting a tale of Medusa being Medusa as what we know her, then that's not what this is. This is her basically before, like maybe the last like 30 pages is her actually being Medusa, but the rest of that is everything that happens before, which I thought was really interesting. But it is a little bit slow in the beginning, so if that is not something that you enjoy, then that might not be for you. But also, if you like Greek mythology and you're interested, then give it a go. Try it. You never know what you're gonna like, and the cover is just stunning. So I feel like that is another reason you should read it. So that is the last book for this video. I've been filming this over like 2 weeks, so I don't even really remember what we read. Oh, we actually had some really good books that I'm very, very happy about. These were really great books to start my year off with, and I am so pleased with that. I'm still thinking about The Correspondent. That book was so good. I took pictures of some quotes in my camera roll, and I just go through my camera roll sometimes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that is definitely a book that I feel like I could reread so many times and have like the same appreciation for it. Anyways, that brings us to the end of this week's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.